You're good.
All right. Welcome to the Golf Podcast Live. I'm your host, Rafael Kalamat, here in Toronto, not in studio at Mindshare Workspace today, at home for various amount of reasons. But I'm here, as always, with Michael Bleackley out in Vancouver at ECS Agency and Studio. Today we have a special guest. His name is Brian Cooper. He's a journeyman professional since 1993. Big break golf Greenbrier contestant, and just all around great guy. You might have seen it. It's gone viral. He's made his PGA Champion Tour debut by finishing in the first five, which is like almost impossible in Q School, and he's finally done it. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, fellas. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We always love to start the show to have our viewers and our listeners get to know us, and not only us, but our special guests. Some people might not know who Brian Cooper is. You've been playing for a very long time. Take us back and where golf started. I guess it would be Pittsburgh. Tell us how it started for you.
I definitely played as a kid. My dad and my older brother really enjoyed playing, and in the summer I was always a baseball guy. That was what I was brought up to play. But to spend more time with my dad and my brother, I had to go out and play with him every once in a while, and I was terrible. My dad would only take me to certain golf courses because, just like any novice starting out, I had that 50-yard slice, and my dad, at some point on tree line courses would get tired of looking for golf balls. So, so I enjoyed playing it, with him. I wasn't ever serious about it. Never played tournaments as a kid. And then after college, my senior year, but my senior year of college, I started playing more and was getting better. But I was going to school and I was already playing two sports. I was playing hockey and baseball, and so I tried out for the golf team, and I remember the golf coach, who at the time was our SID, and he was like, "Yeah, you're not good enough to play." And I was just like, that always resonated with me. And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, whatever." And then, I finished my college career, hockey and baseball, and went on to coach. I was coaching some high school hockey. And one of my best friends at the time was a local club pro. And I started playing a lot of programs with him, and ended up starting to beat a lot of the club pros in the area. And he was like, "Oh, dude, you ought to just get into business." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And quite frankly and bluntly, I was like, as a minority in Pittsburgh at that time, there were no black belt professionals. So it was just like, dude, nobody's going to give me a job. It's crazy. Lo and behold, as I was coaching high school hockey, a kid on my team, his stepdad's brother was an investor at a course that had just opened. It was 1 year in the making, and they were looking for an assistant. And lo and behold, the kid's mom really, really liked me. I don't know why. But she got me, she introduced me to, the Dick, and Dick at that point got me the interview, and I got the job. And it's odd. My old head pro sent me a picture yesterday of working with him at the club. And I was like, whoa, man, drastic flashback there. That picture.
Yeah.
And then, I started working. I spent 2 years there working, and then I realized I really enjoyed playing, and I was getting better. And so I spent one winter in Florida playing, and back then it was called the Spalding Space Coast Tour. I remember playing that, and then it came back, and then I realized, I needed to be somewhere year round. I was not a big Florida guy. I did not like it. And then I moved to Arizona, got a job working at the ASU course, and then I started working, and I still wanted to play, and took my first stint and went over to play in South America. Nice. And from there, it kept going. I'd work and I'd play. I'd work and I'd play. I quit for a little while when my pops passed away. Then went back to playing. But that's pretty much what I did. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And when I got to an age where, back and forth started getting old, and I was like, I think it was probably like 44, 45. And I'm like, man, you got to make a choice here, because you got time to still change your career. But you also, Champions Tour, Senior Tour at that point is coming up. So you got to decide. And I just said, all right, I'm going to stick it out. And I stuck it out and decided to go ahead and continue playing. And lo and behold, this is where it's gotten me 10 years later.
That's amazing. And you've won 30 times on these mini tours. So
yeah, about that. I don't even know the number, but it's about that.
Yeah. I think it's over 30 from when I was digging deep on you. And you played in Canada. Can you tell us about playing
a little
up here?
bit in Canada, not a lot. Yeah, I did. I played a little bit in Canada, but nothing of any magnitude to be newsworthy, so to speak.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed Canada. I mean, as a hockey player, Canada's your gig. But I did play a couple of years ago in Champions Tour event up in Calgary. Loved it.
Nice.
Drove up to Banff. Did the whole tourist thing. It's pretty cool. My son's a pretty good hockey player, so I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of trips to Canada coming up soon.
Oh, fantastic.
You got to tell us a little bit about this grind you've been on, because I don't know if many people understand how difficult it is to not only play mini tour golf, but to go on the big show, to play on the PGA Tour. Now, you've played about 10 events on the Champions Tour. You shot a 68 on Sunday alongside Richard Green, David McKenzie,
we lost this feed.
Yeah, we lost you there, Raf. Give him a second to catch up. But how prepared do you feel for Champions Tour at this moment with those 10 rounds under your belt? And
I think I'm ready. I mean, I felt like I was always ready to play out there. Always felt like I belonged. Always felt like I could compete.
Yeah.
Frankly, I always felt that I could win. I'm gonna go into it with that attitude. But I can't get ahead of myself. I mean, I do have to. There is a preparation process. There is there's a lot of experience with these guys out here. A lot of it's knowing the courses. They're playing these courses every week. I think that was a big thing for me is you Monday qualify. Sometimes you really don't get a good chance to go see the golf course because you Monday qualify. Tuesday you're playing a pro-am. Wednesday you sometimes don't get on the course, or Thursday because there's more pro-am. So you got one day, whereas all the guys are at full status. Whether they've been there Monday, they played the course the year before.
Yeah.
I think the fortunate thing for me this year in that kind of prep is I can arrive every Monday now, so I can have a Monday, Tuesday kind of prep before you get into the pro-am thing, because you're really not able to prep during a pro-am. You're talking to the guys or the ladies in the group, you're helping them out. So you really don't get a really great chance to prep. But I think this year I'll definitely be more ready, and I think there's a little bit, even though there's a lot of pressure to play well, I think there's less pressure now because I have next week. I have the week after that. When you're Monday, you don't have that, leisure of, thinking, oh, I'll play next week. Well, you might not play next week. So that makes it a little bit easier. But I'm expecting myself to perform and play well and have success.
Yeah, well, in golf's weird. Like you're never going to have your best. Every week we tee it up as golfers. So you really need 4 or 5 good performances can carry you through to get your card for next year.
Sure. I mean, right. and that has to be the focus going into it. I mean, your focus, obviously, you want to win. Everybody out there wants to win. Nobody's out there just playing to play each week. You still want to win, but there also does come a point when you have to be a realist and be like, listen, okay, at some point, maybe you're feeling like you're not going to win, but maybe you're going to be a consistent top 25 guy every week. And a top 25 guy every week may get it done. And if that's where you're at, that's where you're at. That's when you have to embrace that and be that person.
Yeah. There's a lot of us who would, cut our left pinky off to have that top 25 every week and be in those shoes. Right. So,
I agree. I hear you.
Yeah. So no, 100%. And have you mapped your schedule out yet? Are you going to do every event or like?
I'm going to do every event I can get in. I think I think it's important to play as much as possible, especially as a rookie. Yeah. I was already looking at my son's hockey schedule and my schedule, And his first big major hockey tournament is he gets to go to Fargo and play in the Squirt International. And as much as I was looking forward to it, I'm going to miss that. And, it's a very eye-opening, thing already. It's like season hasn't even started. And as much as I pride myself on being a dad who's always around him with his hockey, I'm going to miss, probably probably the biggest tournament for him is a Squirt.
Yeah.
So, but he's a first year Squirt, so he'll get to play it again next year. So I'll get to go with him next year. But yeah, it's it's okay. But he understands. He's like, he wasn't happy, but he's like, he looks at it from what are you going to buy me to make up for it? So so there's always a hook he has to throw in there.
Yeah,
so,
you better win a big check. He wants a new car.
Make up for it in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
plan to play right now. I guess the way we do it, because it was a tie, and we had to do a playoff for first, second alternate. First 1 and 2 guy get complete everything, and then the rest go down. So I'm second alternate. So I'm second alternate for I think they said it comes into play for 3 tournaments.
Okay.
First one in Morocco, the regions, and there was one more. I forget what she said. But as a second alternate, you got to think your chances are pretty high.
Yeah, 100%.
Of sneaking into those fields. So,
and how are you in terms of sponsorship and financial backing to to travel and to?
Well, that's going to start right now. I mean, hopefully, the phone starts ringing, and I've talked to a couple people already, and I have friends reaching out to people, but hopefully it's not going to be as difficult as it was when, you had limited status. Hopefully, people see the upside and the fact that, there's definitely there's way more value now than before. And so hopefully that's not a very difficult transition to make to be able to do it.
Excellent. Well, let's shout it out to the universe. Brian Cooper's ready. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It looks like I lost you guys there for a little bit. Hopefully you answered the grind question. I don't know if you heard it all that much, but certainly, a lot of our listeners want to hear about the matches that you've played, and who did you play with that kind of stood out in the past? You went on the Champions Tour. I'm sure you got some memorable pairings, or maybe you have some players you would love to play with, right? You're looking at the Champions Tour, you're watching these guys growing up as you're playing, and you want to get maybe paired up with somebody. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I don't know if I've ever looked at it like I've had some memorable pairings. I played with VJ, and that was totally cool. Enjoyed that experience. You get to be next to a guy that's won majors. I mean, that's pretty neat. When you're watching him. When I was watching VJ win majors, I didn't know or think in reality at one day I was going to be standing on the same tee as him, but I am. I've had some pretty cool conversations with Freddie Couples on the range. I'm definitely looking forward to maybe one day getting paired with him, and I have a lot of conversations and with Jerry Kelly, who's been an unbelievable support system for me. I mean, he right before Q school, he sent me a nice text and said, go out there and get what's yours. And then the other day I was at my son's hockey practice and he called me, and it was really,
that's cool.
Really cool to have, Jerry reach out. I've had Calc reach out, Rocco, nice. Western Pennsylvania guys reached out to me and congratulated me. I played a couple years ago, I played practice round at the US Senior Open in Notre Dame with Rocco. So that's kind of where we forged a friendship. So, that's good. I would expect to spend a lot more time with, a couple, like especially Rocco being a Western Pennsylvania and the whole Arnold Palmer connection, and Jerry and, and guys like that. But outside of that, I mean, I'm just looking forward to playing. I mean, whoever I get paired with, That's, that's that. I mean, I'm not a very I think I get starstruck in other sports,
Right.
like Roethlisberger is a good friend of mine. I'm still starstruck by Big Ben. But I don't really get starstruck with other golfers, and maybe that's because I'm a golfer, so I don't look at it like that. But I do appreciate, respect, and admire a lot of the things that some of these guys have done. but I don't get as starstruck, like, oh my God, I'm playing with Freddie. No, I don't care. I mean, great, let's
Yeah.
go, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like
it just goes to show. Just goes to show how ready you are, because we talked to a lot of rookies and people who actually made it to play on a PGA Tour event or a Champions Tour event, and they're overwhelmed with the atmosphere. It seems that your career has culminated to this, right? You're ready to play, and
Yeah.
it sounds like you're so ready that it's not going to phase you. And I
Yeah.
love the fact that you talk about the family kind of atmosphere. The guys are a lot more mature. They reach out to you. We've spoken to Cook, Petrovic, Matisse, Labritz, and it's the same thing. They feel that it's like a family environment, and it's very supportive, and it's a great opportunity to meet up with the corporate world as well. They're very involved in playing with the corporate sponsors, and they've said that there's a lot of support right off the get-go. So if you're playing in an event, you go play the Pro-Am, the guys are really helping you out right from the beginning. But there was an article that came out just a few days ago. Obviously today's Monday, so it's fairly new. Kevin Pryce over at PGAtour.com talked about overcoming some of the issues that you've had this year, be it your shoulder or depression. Is this something you could talk about, maybe open up, where people could relate to?
No, I'm happy to. Yeah, I had the shoulder injury happened right before finals of last year. And it was unfortunate because every year, I mean, I've made the finals every year I've gone to Q School for Champions Tour, which I kind of pride myself on. And the first 2 years I went there, I missed getting conditional status, associate status by a shot both years. And then I've had it every year. And then last year, there was not a doubt in my mind that I would work at the absolute worst case, I'd have associate status. And I hurt my shoulder before, and I was literally hitting driver maybe 240. And I knew it was going to be a really uphill battle. And I kept myself in there for 3 days. I think it was like 36th. And, I knew I had to just pass like 2 guys. But that last day, it just caught up to me. And I just had no energy, no strength. And I lost it. I lost my status. And it was a struggle. And, I came back. And when I look back, I kind of think that's probably the first time I felt depressed. In a small scale of it, because I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I cannot go back to pre-qualifying. That is like the death of death. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, let's just see how the shoulder surgery goes, and we'll deal with that. And I had the shoulder surgery, and we were coming back really fast, and and it felt like I was ready. And we got to a point where I ended up playing in my state senior open here in Arizona, like in late April or whatever it was, way before I thought I'd be able to do anything. And I finished 5th, and the 4 guys that beat me were all Champions Tour guys. And I was like, oh man, I'm back, man. I'm ready to go. Yeah. And then I had a setback, and then the setback ended up taking me all the way until August. And that setback was probably where it really culminated. There was a mixture of the setback with the shoulder. Now I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to be ready for another several months. And then, there was a little issue with my son's hockey, where you had some parents that, overstepped their boundaries and got a little too involved, like some do in this youth sports,
right?
Especially elite youth sports, and that caused some angst with me, because I was not happy about it. And quite frankly, the way I grew up, I choose to deal with it a different way, to be quite honest. So I struggled with that. And then that's when it really hit. And then, I didn't share it with anybody. I just went through my day to day.
Right.
But I had some dark days. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I had some days where I just didn't want to be here anymore. I mean, I just didn't. I mean, I'm honest about it. But when they got to the worst, I mean, I always made sure I looked at pictures of my son, or I did something with my son. And
great.
That's what always kind of brought me a little bit more back
Mm-hmm.
So, I struggled with that for a while. And then finally, this summer it got to a head because I wasn't playing. I had no interest in going to the golf course. I had no interest in working out. It was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And I hid it from my family, my wife, my son, my mom, my brothers, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, my brother-in-law noticed it. And we had to talk about it. And honestly, without being able to share that with him, I don't know how much longer it would have taken or what might have happened if I didn't. And then I was open and honest about it. And I seek therapy, and I got therapy. I'm still in therapy. I'll probably be in therapy the rest of my life. And I'm okay with that because it's done wonders for me. But it was humbling when I went to social media about it, about how many people reached out to me and said, I appreciate you saying this because I struggle with it and I've never come out about it. And it's, without you doing this, I wouldn't have had the courage to do it. And I look at it and I'm like, if I can help one person, just one, recognize they have a problem, then I'm okay. I think I've done a good thing, and unfortunately we live in a very, 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 very cruel world right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think people, honestly, it's sad. It's very sad the way people live now and the way people treat others. And, people just have to be better. You have to be better. Okay. I mean, it's not that hard. Just be better. You never know what somebody's going through. But people just have to be better. And so if I can be better and I can help somebody, man, I'm tickled pink. I mean, and it sets a good example for my son. Not that he really understands it, but still one day he'll be able to look back at this and he'll be able to understand it a little better. Let me see if I can get you a little more light.
Sure. Thank you for being open, because a lot of people do go through this, and to see someone who's well known like you admit it and have an emotional outpouring after qualifying like that was pretty it was emotional for me to watch. There's definitely some crocodile tears.
It was emotional for me to watch again on TV.
It was
a Golf Channel interview, and that was. He prefaced before putting me on and showed me it, and comes on. I'm like, Damon, what are you doing to me, man? That's not cool.
It's all about, it all comes out, right? All the years of work, all the hours spent, all the times alone, going through the grind. So many people give up, and so people could relate to that. I mean, so many of us have tried to play, but have made the lifestyle choice, but to continue with the grind for so many years, congrats. It's amazing.
And golf is like, staying in an abusive relationship. There's moments that are wonderful and you're top of the world, but golf just hits you below the belt constantly. So and especially tournament golf. And I can relate in the amateur tournament level. And God, I remember driving home from some tournaments. There he is. Awesome. A long car ride home, 2-hour drive. I'm like, what the hell am I doing with myself?
I know. I agree. I mean, this game is very good, but it is extremely humbling and cruel.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Right. And it's tough. And myself, I had open hernia surgery about a year ago. And they gutted me open, similar to a C-section. I can, for a woman, right? They cut me wide open and went in there deep and patched it. I thought I'd be back golfing in 3 or 4 weeks. No chance. I didn't leave my bedroom for about 5 weeks. And it took me 5 months until I started hitting balls. And I that was tough. I had some real dark days and panic attacks, and it was finally when I could golf again, and I still don't have all my power back, over a year later. And, I'm just, writing off this whole year as a rebuild year.
Right.
It's great to see someone in your story go through the roller coasters of emotions of golf and then come out on top, and, and hopefully you can build off that and tear it up on the Champions Tour.
Yeah, I hope so too. That's the plan.
Yeah.
Now, what part of your game are you still working on? We obviously know it's an ongoing journey in golf. You're working on your fitness, your mental game, the technical part of your game. What parts of your game do you need to refine? And did you set any goals? I know it might be a little early, but do you have any goals for this year outside of trying to maybe maintain your card?
I think there's always stuff to work on. I mean, honestly, I felt like I did not hit the driver well at finals. I don't think I hit the driver well at all. I can tell you right now, because I'm a stats guy, I hit 7 fairways, 7 fairways, 7 fairways, 9 fairways. And to me, that's unacceptable. I would much rather be at least a minimum of like 10 every round. And I went 13 greens, 13 greens, 13 greens, 14 greens. And
that's good, man.
And 14's kind of my number. If I feel like when I hit 14, I'm in a really, really good place. And I was really proud of just the patience I showed, of being smart, not going for certain pins. I mean, I've never played that consistent a Q score, maybe ever, over 4 days in my life. I mean, I say that a second. Last year, first stage, I played really well, but I only made 4 bogeys in finals.
Wow.
I mean, and 2 of them, and they were 2 in the first round and 2 in the third round.
Yeah.
And other than that, I played bogey free in the second and final round.
Amazing.
So, I feel like it's a continual process of everything, but I know out there, because I've played, to me, it's an 8-iron and in kind of tour. I mean, you got to be money with, what I consider the short irons. And with my length, I feel like there's going to be a lot more responsibility placed on short irons. You're going to have a 5-iron here, 4-iron there, but most of those are any kind of hybrid. It's going to be into a par 5 where you knock it up close to the green. So your wedges, once again, they got to be sharp. So I think that's where I'm going to spend a lot of time here in the next month and a half before we get back out there. But I'm going to take a little time off now and not really do anything. But to touch on the goals, I actually have a plan to write my goals down. I haven't done it yet, but there'll be 5 or 6 or 7 or maybe 10 of things that I'll want to do in it. That will consist of a certain percentage of fairways throughout the year, a certain percentage of greens and putts per round and wins, top 10s, playing the majors, things like that. I'll definitely have a list that I'm gonna write down, and I'll probably put it somewhere out there, and I'll put a check mark by it if I get to one of those and I check it off, and just to see how many of 6, 7, 8, 10 I get through for the year.
Very cool. I'd love to pivot over to the big break, as I mentioned before we went on there. We're big fans, and we even had Michael Whalen, one of the creators of the Golf Channel, on a few months back, and he was devastated by the cancellation of this show, and he was long gone from a Golf Channel. But what did you take from Big Break, and how did you apply what you learned into tournament golf, and did it help you?
Cameras.
Yeah.
Big Break is at the moment right now, you better be ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing that it definitely taught you. And it's funny because I talked to a lot of guys, alumni that play Big Break, and a lot of times it made guys quit. They said they couldn't handle it. They realized there was no way they could ever play at the next level because of the cameras. And they said it was great for them because it gave them time. They were like, okay, I have no purpose in playing anymore except for fun, because there's no way I can play with that kind of scrutiny. There's cameras, the timing of when you got to be on and ready to go. I thought that was the best thing that ever happened for me, because I felt like if I could get through that show, then okay. My showing at Big Break Greenbrier wasn't the best. I wasn't ready for it. I mean, I wasn't playing good when I got there. But Big Break NFL, I will say this to the day I die, there was nobody playing better than me at Big Break NFL.
Yeah. Well, you almost took it.
Yeah, it was a team thing. I mean, we had kind of a, I don't know how you how you say it.
Yeah.
Because, but our NFL guy was kind of tough. He was kind of tough to work with. I mean, may he rest in peace. But he was kind of tough to work with, and he had a domineering personality and wanted to run the show. But that's from a football aspect. He didn't understand it from a golf aspect, and that's tough. But that's why we lost. I mean, their team was a very cohesive team. They worked together. They understood it. They knew what they had to do. And we didn't have that. We had two really good players, me and Shannon, and then we had Chris, who just thought he was a lot better than he was and wanted to run the show and call the shots. And sometimes, that hurt us. And that's unfortunate. But, I love the big break. I wish they would have never taken it off. I would have played that damn show every year. I did. I loved it. I did. Yeah. I loved the pressure of it. I loved it. I mean, it was absolutely, absolutely amazing, yet terrifying.
Is there any like funny or embarrassing stories that you can share, like that came out of the big break?
Oh,
there's got to be all kinds of stuff. And
did you see the one where Chi got hit in the balls?
No, I don't remember that.
We were doing big break NFL in Puerto Rico, and there was a break the glass thing, and Chi was doing it, and he hit the wood, and it came back and got him right in the stack.
Oh yeah, that's right. I see that video. I remember now.
So that was probably the funniest one. But there's a lot, there's a lot of trick editing that goes into the big break. Like, I remember one time at Greenbrier, we had the draw fade wall, and James Lepp, Canadian, he went first and got done, and I was up next, and I was hit a draw, hit a fade, and then I sat down, and as soon as I sat down, James was like, man, thank God that's over. I said, no kidding, thank God that's over. Or I said something in that relation, like, oh my God. I said, yeah, thank God. And then the next person that went hit one, and it was supposed to be a draw, and it was nowhere near a draw. And then during the show, they edited it that when he missed it, whatever he said, they went to my thank God, like I said, thank God about his shot.
Oh boy,
not cool. I did not say that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of trick editing when it comes to that. But
they got the editors from the Real Housewives in there to stir up some shit.
Jersey Shore or something.
But it's interesting how you talk about the cameras, Brian, because that's exactly what Finau has said in interviews, as well as Gainey. It really prepared them for the big show, right? So when it came time, that you didn't think about it twice. One of the things we do is obviously funny and embarrassing golf stories. So if you could think of any more, let us know over the years. But however, what we're trying to do is compile music on the players that come on the show, like playlists or music that gets you pumped or something like listening.
What's in your iPod right now? Like what are you jamming?
I don't know. You can't play any of my music. I mean, some of this stuff is it's pretty. I mean, there's a lot of adult words in it. I'm still a hip hop guy, man. I mean, I love it. I mean,
so who are the artists? Who do you listen to?
Like my favorite right now is here. I'll pull it up. My favorite. I'm going to get my glasses on here. That's what happens when you get 50.
You just validated that you're old enough to be.
Yeah, man. I mean, I did. Like my favorite right now is called "Every Chance I Get" by DJ Khaled and Lil Baby. I mean, I love that song. I love the beat to it. It really gets me going. But my son's into that. Oddly enough, he loves a lot of that music, and a lot of, like, I do the film for his hockey team, so I compile a lot of the goal highlight reels, and so I'm always picking him. I'm like, all right, what song should we put on this one? And it's always something that has a really good beat or something like that. So like I said, I'm still a hip hop guy. I mean, that's what gets me going. And if anybody watches me on the range this year, you'll probably see me over there. I'll be like, just bopping my head and
awesome.
But that's just that's who I am. And I'm it's like going in warm-ups in the NFL game. You don't hear him playing country. So you hear him playing. It's gonna get you pumped up. So.
Yeah, I'm just glad you didn't say Katy Perry.
No, definitely not gonna be Katy Perry. No.
Yeah, so no. Raph and I met were as DJs,
Oh, really?
and yeah, so that's why
Many, many years ago.
a long time ago, and like I've played house music most of the time and hip hop. I grew up
Right.
listening to house and hip hop in Toronto, so kind of got experienced a lot of stuff, even dance hall and all kinds of just whatever, anything that's underground that wasn't really on the radio was
Sure.
key, right? So yeah, we're always curious to see what everyone's listening to, and I do like to hear when people say or listen to obscure stuff, not just like your American top 40, and
Yeah.
it's kind of generic, right? So
No, I don't listen to top 40.
yeah, so
It's,
yeah, and to hear that you're beat driven, that's just interesting. It says a little bit about personality. Some are more vocal driven, but to me, I'm more of a beat guy myself.
Yeah, like I like sometimes I don't even know what they're saying. It's just the beat that just gets me. I'm like, yes,
Oh yeah,
that is it right there. That is
yeah.
it. That's the hit. That's the hit right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, one of the other things we like doing is asking what your ultimate foursome would be. Now, it's a little bit of a trick question because you're not allowed to put in any family or friends into your ultimate foursome, but you could pick anybody, dead or alive, that you would want to play with. Now, it doesn't have to be a golfer; it could be a celebrity. But what would be your ultimate foursome?
Arnold Palmer. It's always Western PA.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough because obviously I want my dad with me, but yeah. Please. Man, I don't know if I'm being
We could circle back. We could circle back. A lot of people.
Yeah, let me
said,
think while we talk about something else.
Yeah, a lot of people chose Ben Hogan. A lot of people chose Jack, obviously, or Tiger. To get into
that would be cool. I mean, being a Western Pennsylvania guy, it's always Palmer to me.
yeah, for sure.
Palmer's everything. I mean, his grandson sent me a message, when I qualified. So I mean, it's it's Palmer. I mean, Palmer's always number one with me. Yeah, we'll have to circle back. I gotta think about that.
Yeah, no problem.
So
one of the things. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
You're holding 9 course records from what I see. You want to tell us your scores and which courses?
God, I don't even
if
know.
You can remember, or a few of them.
Like I get the ones I get 61 at Ligonier Country Club. I don't know if that's still up. I get 59 I got all 3 at my course because we have 3 9s.
Yeah.
So I got a 59 and 2 61s. I had one down at where my brother lives in Delaware at 67 at Peninsula Golf and Country Club in Delaware.
Yeah. I've played the Kierland resort courses before a couple of years ago. Beautiful facility.
Yeah, they are. They're good.
Yeah.
God, I don't even know where to start right now. Probably should ask my best friend. He knows more about them.
Well, Brian, are there any shout outs or maybe you want to mention your website or social media?
I don't do any website, but my obviously I do Twitter. It's Coops Golf. I have 2 on Instagram. One's Coops Golf and the other one is Brian Cooper Golf. The Brian Cooper Golf will be the one that will actually probably have more golf related and Champions Tour stuff. The other one centers more around me and just like more my son and his hockey and what we do together when we travel. That one's also private, so I got to accept it, and generally it's just easier if people just follow the Brian Cooper's Golf because it's there, and that's what's this is a golf thing, and this is what, if you want to follow it, that's where you're going to see where I'm going to post tournament stuff and all that. But other than that, I don't really. I used to have a website. It's too much work.
How about your sponsors? I see that you got a couple of things on your shirt. Anybody you want to say thank you to? Any sponsors?
Yeah, I mean, I got my sponsor, Brad in Pittsburgh. Obviously, he dealt with me through a brutal year. And, I so appreciate, him standing behind me. And my buddy Mike, who's also like best friends with Big Ben. And that's kind of how we all got together. And, and same thing with Brad. It's like a whole threesome. Mike's big, we call him the big ticket. The big tickets stood by me since, forever. And he's been such a huge help, and can't thank him enough. And this is where I do yoga, S&M. This is where I do yoga 3 days a week, which is, I think, been pivotal in my, my ability to stay healthy. And I do it 3 days a week when I'm home, and it's hot and you hate it when you're in there, but it's so good for you. Anybody's ever thinking about doing yoga and you don't want to do it because you're afraid of how hot it is, just do it for a month, and at the end of the month, you're used to it, and you'll be in heaven.
I agree. I've done it a few times. It is wonderful. You feel so good after. Yeah,
and I'm super appreciative of Callaway, Johnny Thompson, who was out there on tour, everything he did for me the last couple of years. I know he's moved on to the PGA Tour, which is outstanding for him. So we have a new guy this year, John Hovis, who's also been very good for me right before Q School started. So, they're really good. I'm hopefully looking forward to moving forward with them, and into 2023 and having a great year with those guys.
No, excellent. So, well, we're definitely pumped to watch you have success out there and on the Champions Tour, and maybe we'll see you down at one of them, because Raf and I are going to, try to follow the tour a little bit and get some press passes and come stalk you guys.
That's fine. Yeah, that's great. I'll be in Calgary.
Brian,
it's not that far. You always
it is not. 100%.
Brian, we'd love to have you on again.
Absolutely.
Kind of keep track of your progress. Make sure open you up to a new audience of people who get to know who Brian Cooper is and how he's doing. And reach out to us if you need to chat about anything. If you need somebody on your bag, we're always here for you.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I don't know how much my buddy, my caddy Lance is going to like me telling him to take a week off. You never know. He may get sick. You may get sick. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. I might need to fill in.
Yeah, 100%. Either one of us will fly right down there for you for sure. And we'll paste your Instagram and Twitter link in the description on the video and all that. And we'll share it on Twitter after, by this evening. We'll share it out there. So I appreciate a retweet on your end. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And as of tomorrow, it'll be up in all the podcast platforms, all the major ones, like 17 or 18 different platforms. So
awesome.
That'll be great. So if you got one last funny story you can throw at us there, your most embarrassing moment on any tournament, or turn up that hot seat one more time before we let you go.
Yeah, when we say embarrassing, we mean like it's one of the first thing that pops into your head where you can't forget that.
I don't have one. I really don't. Sadly, I'm a little boring when it comes to that.
Come on, you haven't hit anybody off the first tee?
Huh?
You haven't hit a person off the tee?
No, I haven't hit a person. I think every professional golfer has had a shank. Everyone, and I had one of those in the fairway at Dick's one year, middle of the fairway. I shanked when I looked at my caddy and I said, "Man, what was that?" And he looked at me and says, "Oh, you know what the hell that was." But outside of that, no, I don't think I have any, and hopefully I don't have any that come up. But if they do, I'll have to log them into memory and share.
All right.
Well, hopefully you come back in a few months, and there'll be something you can enlighten us on the Champions Tour.
Like a trophy sitting right here.
Yeah.
That would be
even better. That's not embarrassing.
Really good.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on again.
All right, man, I appreciate you guys.
Reach out to you. For Michael Bleackley, Brian Cooper, I'm Rafael Kalamat. You've been listening to the Golf Podcast Live. Remember to jump on Mindshare Workspace, ECS Agency for all your digital needs, and Upper Hand cards and collectibles. Until next time, guys.